All right, let's dive right into this. Today, we're doing an explainer that bridges what honestly sounds like an impossible gap. The distance between an 11th century philosophical manual and, well, your Tuesday morning stand-up meeting.
Now, you might be wondering, what on earth could an ancient Persian thinker possibly have to do with your quarterly performance review or, how you handle a super difficult team dynamic? But here's what's actually fascinating. Human nature, the core of how we interact, lead, and frankly, sometimes fail each other, it really hasn't changed in a millennia. The exact same pitfalls that plagued scholars 1,000 years ago? Yeah, they are literally the exact same ones popping up in your Slack channels right now.
So our source material for this explainer is Imam Ghazali's masterwork, the Ihya Ulumuddin. Historically, sure, this was meant as a really profound spiritual and philosophical guide, but when you peel back that medieval context, it actually hides the ultimate blueprint for professional leadership, mental resilience, and managing a team.
To really get why his advice is so incredibly sharp, we kind of have to look at the guy's resume. Ghazzali wasn't just some theorist sitting around in a room. He was essentially a highly successful, super high-powered executive. By 1091 AD, he was appointed principal at the Nizamiyya in Baghdad. Think of that like being the dean of the most prestigious Ivy League university of his day. But then, he hit a wall. He suffered what we'd instantly recognize today as severe burnout. It was so bad he literally lost his ability to speak from the stress. So he just left. He walked away from all that prestige and wealth, retreating into total solitude for over a decade, just to find some clarity. And when he finally returned, he wrote the rules we're about to decode.
Okay, let's get into the actual framework. Rule number 1, strategy over toxic distractions.
So Ghazzali divided pursuits into what he called praiseworthy and blameworthy knowledge. Back in his day, blameworthy knowledge meant getting caught up in useless scholastic debates or, honestly, obsessing over astrology. Bring that into our everyday workplace, and it's the exact equivalent of getting completely bogged down in toxic office gossip, endless reply-all email chains, or just useless corporate busywork, instead of actually focusing on core strategic execution. Basically, he's telling us that ruthless prioritization of what gets your mental energy is step 1 of being a good leader.
Moving right along, rule number 2, execution over empty theory.
Looking directly at the text, Ghazzali absolutely roasts those who learn without executing. He really didn't want scholars just sitting around reading all day. He demanded that knowledge actually translate into tangible reality. And to illustrate this, he offers what is easily one of the most striking metaphors in the entire book. He says, "Knowledge without action is like a glowing wick. It gives light to others, but itself dies burning." Just let that sink in for a second. Think about the modern visionary manager. Come on, we all know one, right? That person who constantly shares the newest leadership podcasts, drops links to management books in the team chat, and talks a really big game in meetings, but never actually executes a plan or helps unblock their team on a daily basis. They are that glowing wick. Eventually, they just burn out and leave absolutely nothing behind.
Let's map this out a bit more clearly, because the parallels are honestly uncanny. Ghazzali talks a lot about this idea of the hypocrite scholar. And guys, this is the exact same persona as the toxic modern manager. Verbal knowledge without action becomes corporate jargon without execution. The scholar seeking worldly glory? That's just the manager taking credit for a subordinate's hard work. It's the exact same psychological profile. They're just wearing a suit instead of robes.
Which brings us to rule number 3, spotting the toxic manager.
He introduces this term, the wicked learned man. He defines this as someone who creates rules for everyone else, who commands people to do the right thing, but absolutely refuses to follow those rules himself. It's the ultimate classic do as I say, not as I do leadership style.
And the consequence of this hypocrisy? The text uses this exact phrase. He will roam with his bowels as a donkey moves round a millstone. I mean, wow. It's incredibly vivid, almost shocking imagery, right? Just picture a donkey, blindfolded, walking in an endless circle, grinding grain but never actually getting anywhere. Honestly, we've all felt like that donkey by about 3 p.m. on a Thursday. It perfectly captures the deep, crushing exhaustion of a team trapped under a leader who just relies on endless busy work instead of clear, decisive action.
All right, final rule number 4, the empathetic mentor. If we translate Ghazali's section on the duties of a teacher, we actually get a perfect, highly actionable 4-step behavioral framework for modern managers. Step 1, show kindness and sympathy. You have to lead with empathy, treating your team's growth as a personal responsibility. Step 2, do not seek ulterior praise. In other words, share the credit. Your team's success is your success. Step 3, practice exactly what you preach. You literally have to model the behavior you want to see. And step 4, and honestly, this is brilliant for modern communication, match the lesson to the student's intellect. You have to tailor your management style and your communication to each individual employee's unique capacity and learning style. You just can't manage everyone exactly the same way.
So as we can see, the human condition really hasn't changed all that much. The problems of the 11th century are very much the problems of today, which means those solutions from 1,000 years ago, they still work right now. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a question to ask yourself. In your own career, are you acting as that glowing wick, full of theory, but eventually burning out with nothing to show for it? Or are you ready to turn your workplace knowledge into meaningful, empathetic action? Take these ancient rules into your next meeting and just see what happens.